Hi, my name's Safaa Bensom-Effiom. I'm a freelance playwright and theatre maker, and my work was recently streamed as part of the Camden People's Theatre digital season. I got into playwriting through my love of theatre. I always wanted to be an actress, but halfway through university I wrote my first play, and I realised that I love telling my own stories more than I love performing in other people's, so I made the decision there and then, and I haven't looked back. My career background is primarily in theatre. I did my first drama class when I was at secondary school, and I've studied drama pretty consistently from that point onwards. All of my training is in theatre. I did drama GCSE, I did my A-level in theatre studies, I went to university, the University of Birmingham, to study drama and theatre arts, and then I went to drama school to get my master's in text and performance. I did that at a project. I look for jobs in the arts primarily through social media, theatre in particular. There's a lot of networking and resource sharing that happens there, so it's a really great place to look for opportunities. I'm also on the mailing list for a few playwriting blogs, for example, the London Playwrights blog, which is a resource for emerging playwrights. They send through regular emails with the details of playwriting competitions, workshops, scratch nights, just all kinds of opportunities, so that we know everything that's out there, and gives us a chance to apply. So whether or not you need contacts depends on where you are in the process of being a playwright. So if you're still at the beginning and it's just about getting the play that's in you out, then really all you need is a pen and paper or a laptop to write. So yeah, that's something that you can do on your own. But when it gets to the point of proceeding with the play that you've written, it does help to have contacts. But the theatre industry is in quite an amazing place at the moment, where there are so many opportunities for new playwrights to be able to communicate with theatres about their work. So there's loads of playwriting schemes, loads of submission windows, scratch nights happening all over the place. So it's a lot easier to make contact with these theatres than you might think. As a playwright, there aren't day-to-day roles and tasks. Your main job is to write, so it really depends on what you're working on at the time. So that might mean that one day you spend 8 days at your desk kind of just frantically scribbling. But then there are also things like reading plays, watching plays, even going for a walk. All of these things count as part of the writing process. So honestly, as a playwright, every single day you wake up and every day could be, really different. You really don't know what the day will entail for you. So I've always wanted to be as creative as possible in my day-to-day life, and being a playwright and a theatre maker gives me the opportunity to do that. I am writing, I'm connecting with people and creating work. It just means that I'm creative all the time. So yeah, that's my favourite thing. With regards to progressing in the industry, I would say it gets easier once you know people, once you've got the feel of the landscape, once you've got your foot in the door somewhere. Like I said before, it's a lot easier to do that kind of these days with a lot of the schemes that are available. Things like Soho Theatre Writers Lab, which really help you kind of develop new plays, are really, really great ways to be able to make contact with the theatre building. To be a playwright, there isn't actually an application or interview process. Your applications are the plays that you write, so that it's kind of the portfolio of work that you build. You send these off to people, in literary departments in theatres, and hopefully, they'll get in touch with you and start a conversation with you, your work, and I guess your passion and the work that you create, the work that you want to create, that kind of serves as your application. I would say that the best way to make your CV stand out would be to put the things that you know are going to stand out right at the top. So things like training that you've had, things that you've worked on, people that you've worked on, work that you've created that you think is really interesting. These are the things that you're going to want to share really early on to grab people's attention. So yeah, I would say that's the best way to make your CV stand out. I would also say though that as a playwright, your CV isn't massively essential. like I said, it really depends on your work, the plays that you're writing. These are your calling cards, and these are the things that people pay attention to more rather than what you've done in the past. So yeah, as an emerging playwright, it really is the plays that you've written that are going to sell you. The best way to stand out in an interview or in an audition would be to prepare. As a playwright, the only way to prepare is to be able to speak about the work that you're creating, the work that you want to make, to have researched the theatre or the company that you're speaking to, the work that they've made that you really like, that you really relate to, plays that you like or that you've watched, what your taste is. It's good to be able to speak on these things. And honestly, it's just about what makes you you, what makes you unique, the stories that are inside you, your viewpoints, all of that. These are the things that make you unique, and will allow you to succeed in an interview or application process. As a playwright, entry-level roles don't exist. You're an emerging playwright until you're not. People who aren't emerging playwrights are people who have work on in theatres that have runs, of at least a few weeks. So typically, prior to that point, what you're doing is something called writing on spec, which is a word that is typically used in screenwriting. But basically what that means is you're working for free, you're not being paid, you're creating the work, you're building a portfolio, things that you can send out to places in the hope of it getting the attention of a theatre company, or a literary department. So yeah, in terms of like entry level, that kind of wording doesn't really exist in creative theatre jobs like actors, directors, writers. Entry level just isn't a term that we would use. With regards to starting salaries as a playwright, there isn't one, unfortunately. As with any kind of creative job in theatre, actors, directors, writers, you're not getting paid until you're doing work with a theatre that can actually pay you. Prior to that point, you are creating with the hopes of grabbing their attention, I guess, is the best way to put it. So a lot of the time people are creating their own work out of the sheer love and passion for it, but you're not going to immediately be getting paid for that. So in terms of a starting salary, it's best to be upfront and say that there isn't one. But in terms of how much you could make at the peak of your career, I mean, as you work more, as you become well known in your industry, I mean, it's like being a creative in any industry. The amount that you make kind of rises exponentially depending on your experience. The advice that I'd give to any young person who wants to be a playwright would be to immerse yourself in art, in work, reading, watching, writing things. Figure out what your style is, what your voice is, the stories that you want to tell, and just jump in head first. It's going to take a while for you to build and get better in your craft, but that's good. That is fine. It's amazing. And I'd say don't be put off by the fact that it's not a straightforward trajectory. It's not that you're going to write something and it's going to be put on in a theatre tomorrow. It can be a really long journey, but it is worth it if you're a storyteller and it is your passion to tell stories. If you can't think of anything that you'd rather do, then the biggest piece of advice I would give you would be to stick with it, because there's nothing more amazing than hearing actors perform your work or hearing audiences react, to words that you've written. So if that's a dream that you have, then I would say stick with it.